know where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We've touched down from a higher plane. Why you made it here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys, Joe, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because he's done on the warfare.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by betonline.ag. Hey there, Marcus Dash here from Chief Concerns. Just want to comment and say BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for football, baseball, boxing, golf, and much more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Chief Concerns. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary Chiefs tight end Jason Dunn, coming at you at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a little bit later than we usually do at our usual show, but it's the off season, so we're mixing things up a little bit. But we hope everyone's doing well tonight and joining us on this beautiful off-season live stream on Chief Concerns channel. JD, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Some things are spicing up a little bit around the Chiefs Kingdom, in it. Spicing up a little bit. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. But I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Beautiful Wednesday. You know what? I like these evening conversations and talk, man. This is kind of like my time. Everybody calls me a vampire because I stay up late at night. This is my hours of operation even more than anything else, man. So I'm bright and ready, man. Let's go. Let's get into some of this action that we're talking about out here, man, in Kansas City. How you doing? How you been? How's everything going?
I'm doing good. I'm seeing comments in here. Martin Moore, nice haircut. Yeah, I got a haircut since our last show on Monday. I cut it. I left it growing throughout the playoffs. I call it my playoff due, JD. I got the haircut about a week before my birthday, so it was like last week of November. My barber, she went to Vietnam for 2 months. So I'm very loyal to my woman, my woman Hannah. And she was gone for 2 months, so I had to wait it out. So, I left it during the playoffs. It was obviously good luck. And then got a cut Tuesday. She got back over the weekend. So Tuesday got my hair cut. Feeling pretty good, man. Loving the news that we're hearing. Maybe Chris Jones coming back soon. L'Jarius Sneed stuff still up in the air. But yeah, man, it's getting down to grind time. Lovely year. Lovely part of the year, and I love, we talked about this before, but the fact that we continue to make deep playoff runs to go to the Super Bowl, go to the AFC Championship game every year. Our offseason is so short for us, like the dead period of having to watch other teams. We don't do that. We win the Super Bowl. We have a week of celebration, and then we're right to it. The combine week the next week. So it's like there's really no dead period for the Chiefs world, which is amazing.
Yeah, you could look at it either one or two ways, right? Either it's like, oh my gosh, we don't really have a break, and we got to get right back into it. Or two, it's like, hey, you know what? I love these long seasons because it means we're doing something great, right? We win in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't want it any other way. And I think for the coaches, when they go through the combine and they'll do that, talk to all the guys, all the teams will come and congratulate them when they come into the restaurants. And this is how it happens up in Indianapolis when they're doing the combine. They'll come in, chest sticking out, coming into the restaurant, and everybody's watching. They watching the big cock of the town coming in, right? Strutting their chest out, okay, their championship, and everybody knows it, okay? And the only thing people can do is sit there and enjoy it. Just soak it in. That's all you can do is sit in and take it all in, man. That's all you can do. Congratulate them. Don't hate on them because these guys are going to get right back into it and get ready for another championship. We're looking for a three-peat. This is what we're doing. And so some of these things we're going to be talking about tonight is leading up into, hey, are we doing the right moves? Are we doing the right things? What are we thinking about as far as like this road going toward this three-peat, right? And so I'm excited, man, to get into tonight's show. I really am. I really am. All the people that's in the chat right now, I'm seeing them. What's going on, everybody? What up? What up, G-Pick? What's going on? Martin Moore? What's happening? Wendy's back. How you doing, Wendy? Always good seeing you.
The whole gang is here.
Gang is here, man.
JD, actually, I'm the Brown actually makes a pretty good thing. I didn't have this in our show, in our rundown tonight. But what are your quick thoughts on the NFLPA's rank of the Chiefs facilities?
I will. Okay. So I'm going to definitely talk about it. And this is what I said. When I was playing, the Chiefs facilities was a little bit more nostalgia. And I think that's what it gives. It gives that air of, having this football world environment that a lot of people just don't have. I'm thinking of other places that may have something like this. And the only one I could come to my mind is Green Bay. That's the only one I could think of, like, the history, the experiences that the fans have that can really hang their hat upon it, right? That haven't really had too much to the stadium. Now, they've made some changes, some updates to it, but some of the ranks that they've said, I do believe that the Chiefs need to update the facilities, no doubt about it. It's better than what it has been. I just know sometimes when guys are comparing two different ways, okay? They're comparing from where they came from in college. As we know, there's a lot of money thrown into football facilities and organizations in college, all right, that I've been to places that will blow NFL teams out the water. The things that they have, their locker room, all the things they have around it, like they don't have to leave at all. They got everything there. I'm talking about everything. Or the other comparison is, well, we see SoFi, and then, of course, we see the Raiders get a new stadium themselves. So that's another thing that the guys got to compare it to. So we're doing a comparison. I'm just like, okay, what do I think about our facilities as compared to everybody else's? What do I think just in itself? So I'm sure there were some ratings that guys were like, look, there's things that could be updated. I don't think anything's wrong with that at all. I think it's guys expect, if you're winning championships, to have championship facilities. That's what they want. I think Clark and those guys have done a pretty good job trying to keep up what they can with what they need to do. Now, obviously, they've been talking about getting better. We've seen at least some sketches or blueprint about them changing some things up, maybe making some more suites on the field, which a lot of people are not happy with. I think I talked to somebody on Twitter, was like, hey, man, I'd love to hear about what you have to say tonight, because we could get into like just the recourse of what are you going to do with those seats, those people that's been here for 40 years, 35 years, whatever, season ticket holders, and you're taking away those seats, right? I think the only recourse, well, we'll get into that later. But let me continue on what we were just talking about, the facilities and training staff, nutritionists, and all those different things. It's only there for the guys to know. So I don't know what as far as like how they have the chefs and whatnot. I know when we were there, we had guys that would cook, and have meals, very tasty. But if you're used to a 5-star, okay, that some of these kids are coming from college, like a 5-star restaurant, a la carte, that's what they expecting for the NFL. And it may be disappointing to them because they're like, hey, man, wait a minute. I'm coming from Alabama, Oregon, and, we don't have this here at the Chiefs. Well, guess what, man? You're a grown man. You can go get whatever you need to get. You got plenty of money to go buy it yourself, okay? College was providing it for you because, you weren't really making that much money. Now the landscape's changed a little bit now, obviously, with the NIL and guys getting paid. It's a little bit different. But I think sometimes they think like, look, when you come to work, you come to work. You're not coming here to get, all the amenities that you think that you should. Now, it's great to have these things, but sometimes guys are very particular about, maybe who they're touching their body as far as like with a massage, who's working on them as far as maybe strength coach, maybe their workouts. They're going to do all that during off season. But I do think that there's validity here in what's being said. Now, I don't know as far as like FDs and all of that was coming up. I'm not sure about that. But that's for guys to make a decision. I was talking to my nephew, Chad, because me and Chad always talk about, You know, I came in, when I came into the league, I had Vet Stadium in Philadelphia. Veterans Stadium. Now, if y'all know anything about Veterans Stadium, okay, I'm going to put y'all onto something. Veterans Stadium was known for just run-down facilities, holes and peak holes everywhere through locker rooms, cheerleading rooms. It was notorious for those things. Running on the field was turf, but it was like running on concrete. There was a wide receiver from the Bears, I can't think of his name right now, who was running down the field of Vet Stadium and blew out both knees, both ACLs. Nobody hit him. He was just running on the field. Jeez. They used to have the pitchers mound. They used to sit up maybe 3 inches off in the field. Wow. And it was crazy because everybody would just trip on it. So this is what we would have back in those days, man, in those facilities of Vet Stadium. That's why they imploded it. They imploded it because on national TV, I think it was an Army and Navy game, the front row of people that was there fell on the ground. They literally fell out of the stadium, at the stands, onto the ground.
Well, that's what happened at FedEx Field like 2 years ago.
Oh, man. That Vet Stadium would have been through everything. And historic site, gotta love for what it was, but that place needed to go. It was just being held up by 2 picks and probably duct tape.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, I mean, I think it's funny that the timing of this report comes out the same day the Arrowhead Reimagined the thing comes out as well. I love that was like timed perfectly. Both things came out the same day. So whatever it was ranking in there, don't worry, guys. We got this Reimagined Arrowhead coming your way soon.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, okay, and I'll leave it at that. Is I see this right here. I bet there are a lot of ex-Chiefs on their voting list that are butthurt that they're out there now. This is small news. It could be, yeah, definitely that. But I think players and guys there, it's anonymous who the guys are who's voted for this thing. And to be honest with you, man, a little bit it's just a privilege. I mean, you guys, man, they used to, it's like some really, really incredible facilities. I'm telling you, state of the art, like, man, everything you possibly need. And so, like I said, comparative, if you're looking at SoFi, and then you're looking at the Vegas's stadium, man, it's time for a new one. And these guys didn't even sniff the playoffs or the championship, right? So guys have every right, like, man, we don't win Super Bowls. We need to get new facilities here. And I agree with that.
I mean, if anything, you don't have to knock down the place. I mean, just be very on top of the renovation stuff. That's pretty much it. Just be on top of it. Don't let it go too far where you're like, oh man, like we're still looking like we're in the 90s or early 2000s. Let's just update it every so often. I mean, hey, especially when we're making these deep playoff runs, we're making a lot of money, especially this team. And I think I saw someone online posted this. Apparently Clark Hunt has a 3-bedroom like penthouse within the stadium. Something ridiculous, like 3-bedroom like penthouse within the stadium, like for himself and his family, which is, I mean, if you can have a little 3-bedroom little penthouse in the stadium, you can update some stuff.
Look, man, hey, it belongs to them. You know, that joker can have whatever he wants to. He can have a landing pad right up there by the scoreboard if he needed to. You know, for his place. It's his house.
Yeah.
That's his house. It's his family's house. It's the Chiefs' house. It's the family, the players, the team. It's their house. But Clark's got to make sure. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's nice. It's plush. It's it's very comfortable as it should be. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man. If you have your house, you got a stadium yourself. You're gonna make sure you're gonna be comfortable, right? Yeah. You're gonna make sure that. So, yeah.
I will say that the Arrowhead Reimagined, the designs they came out today. We posted it on our YouTube channel earlier on our post, the community board. But like, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty sweet. I mean, they're gonna have a little mini like football field out there, in like the tailgate area. Because I mean, I think, and they're also gonna make use of once Kaufman goes to Kansas City, into the city. I mean, they're pretty much gonna like utilize that space there for more parking, more things to do. So I mean, it's and obviously the parking and to get in and out of that place is a disaster. So whatever they do, hopefully they make that better, like the in and out aspect of things. So yeah, I mean, looks like they're on to bigger and better things as far as the facilities. So they can take that report and whatever.
Well, I will say this. I don't think some of the response to it that they said were like, hey, we didn't have enough time because we were going so deep in the playoffs that we couldn't have done anything with it. I don't accept that. I'm like, hey, man, come on. Y'all could break ground right now on something, on plans, right? And so, yeah, I think it's important for guys to speak up and say whatever they need to say. But I know that Clark and those guys, the Hunt family, wants to do right by the guys. I have no problem with that. I know that for a fact they're going to do. I see my boy Malibu Stu out here talking about 700 level fights at the vet. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Only stadium had a real live judge underneath the stadium since all the fights they were having.
I was, man. Judge and jury at the vet stadium. The jail right there. It was crazy. That's crazy.
Classic. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to kind of dive in here. JD kind of made mention in the beginning. There's a lot of stuff to get into, and let the games begin as far as the offseason goes. So first thing today, one of the first pieces of news that dropped today from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, the Chiefs released playoff hero MVS, and in doing so, they saved around 12 million smackaroos for the squad. Obviously, MVS up and down career as far as, didn't really play up to the potential of his contract during the regular season. Came alive last year, AFC Championship game against Cincinnati when we were depleted in the receiver room. Came alive, made some spectacular catches. Came alive in this year's playoffs, made some, great plays for us. Got rid of the whole dropsies thing that he had during the regular season. But he came out, did his thing during this playoffs, and good way to go, planting the flag at the Raiders Stadium after winning that Super Bowl. But JD, when we think about MVS, obviously we're getting $12 million back, so that's going to go to retaining some of the guys we want to keep on the defense, maybe splurging on some receivers. But JD, what do you make of this move, which we saw coming? I think most people saw this happening. What do you make of this move, and what looking back on MVS's legacy, what we remember about MVS's legacy in Kansas City?
Well, hats off to MVS. Appreciate everything that he's done here with the Chiefs, getting 2 Super Bowls while coming here, helping with that. Being able to give us something, right? A contribution. And without his contribution, we don't win 2 Super Bowls without it. We just don't. And the thing is, that needed to be commended. It needs to be talked about and spoken on about what he was able to do while he was here with the Chiefs. Now, obviously, the conversation goes to, with what he was able to do the past 2 years, does that validate or warrant the type of money that he was making, right? And I think that you really can't make a case about that being the point. I don't think he made enough of an impact as far as catches and what they were thinking he was going to be able to do, being a number 1 wide receiver, stretching the defense, probably projecting for him to get maybe 60 to 70 balls a year, and he didn't get anywhere close to that. And so when I'm looking at his stats, and you look at stats, and look, I'm the first one to tell you. I've said this, and I say this with me. Stats don't necessarily tell the whole story, and they don't, okay? I'm not going to cut his legs off from underneath him, but when you bring somebody in, and the expectation is for him to catch a lot of balls, and he doesn't, and it performs in that, being the most significant thing that we brought him in to do, I think it's what you got to judge him on, right? Now, all the other contribution that he did a tremendous job blocking for guys anytime guys got the football. He did a hell of a job. Okay, let me say that one more time. MVS did a hell of a job blocking for guys when they got the ball. He was very selfless like that, where, hey, maybe if I had the ball in my hands, at least I can go out here and do something, block for the guys, maybe get another touchdown. I think he understood that part of it, that role. But I know he wished that he had maybe a bigger role in the offense. At least he wished he probably caught a lot more balls than what he did. And the thing is, it's going to be the ups and downs, the controversy, how well at the very beginning of the season, drops, the controversy of how he responded to it. But all of that goes into trying to measure what this guy is worth to you. as a team. And it's all business in the NFL. Look, this is a performance-based business. It always has been, and it always will be. That is not going to change. And so for the Chiefs, they felt like as far as like the performance he was getting out there on the field just wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough for them to retain him here with the Chiefs. And I'm fine with that. I think everybody's seen that. I think he understood that as well, that he might be able to go and make a payday somewhere else. But we're looking for guys to come in and have a full production for an entire year. And that belongs to consistency. We're looking for consistency from guys. That's what it is. I mean, when you're talking about wide receivers, catching the football, being consistent while you're doing it, running the right routes, doing the right things, that's what it takes. And I think, maybe the lack of production didn't really warrant keeping him here. So, it's a lot.
I mean, I think that's what's going to come down to as far as, what we want out of a person and the consistency. And we saw a little bit more of that consistency when it came to the end of the season, in the playoffs specifically. We saw that, but at that $12 million number, and we think that we can either find a bona fide number one. That could be anybody. I don't know if we are going to go get a guy, or we're going to go through the draft. But like the $12 million, man, it's a lot of money, especially when we are trying to. I see a G pick in the chat, Chris Jones. I mean that at the end of the day, we're trying like rob Peter to pay Paul. Yeah, and this is where it's going to happen. We had to make these decisions, and quite frankly, I don't think it was that hard of a decision. Yeah, his legacy as far as the Super Bowls, being on these teams, having pivotal plays in the playoffs, and we wouldn't have gotten them without MVS. But at the end of the day, that contract didn't warrant his statistics didn't warrant what he was getting paid. And I know you say stats will tell the whole story, but at the end of the day, it's a production-based business. $12 million. So you I mean, you're not doing enough to get that $12 million bucks. And now we're going to apply that to a Chris Jones type of guy, and then who else we're going to get out after that. So,
yeah. And look, the thing is, this is what happens. It happens in the NFL all the time. When they bring guys in and you don't really hit your mark, what they expected you to do, then, hey, man, it's a business. And they got to send you a package. Sorry. Hey, appreciate it. But, as far as like what we thought you were going to be able to do, you didn't. And, it was, I think, an amicable decision. The Chiefs was like, hey, man, we appreciate everything about it. Right. But you can't take from a small sample size what a guy does, maybe 1 or 2 games, and like, hey, man, yeah, that warrants the entire season. Like, that's why we should keep you here.
I know.
Nobody believes that. No, I don't think anybody believes that. So,
well, because if you think about this, like, let's say we won a Super Bowl team. This is what, like, I think some people are pissed off. I saw in the comments. I like to look at the threads when Jeremy Fowler reports MVS is gone. Looking at the comments, oh man, we're breaking up the squad. Can't be doing this bad juju, bad mojo. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, let's say we won a Super Bowl team. Let's say we were like a Panthers or a team that ended week 18. Season was over week 18. MVS is gone. Is a goner. But those three extra weeks. It's like, okay, that doesn't warrant to bring him back again at a $12 million number. But like any other team, the season ends week 18. What you gave me during those 18 weeks, that's what you gave me. That was it. And those stats don't warrant the money that you're gonna the $12 million bucks. But then obviously he stepped up in the playoffs. He made $12 million type of plays in the playoffs, but that doesn't warrant a whole season's check for that.
Well, we could argue on the other side of it. Like, look, we're not breaking up the band. Shoot, having him here made it harder to get to the playoffs to win a Super Bowl. Right? Yeah. You could say that. Like, well, shoot, maybe the level of difficulty was harder because he was not performing. And then we had to figure it out. So now what they end up doing is you might have taken a couple of years off of Patrick Mahomes or maybe Travis Kelce, trying to cover for a guy who might not be producing, right? Or wide receiver. So now that puts more pressure on these guys to do more, right? They get paid the big bucks. I get it. But, we're paying you big bucks too. And so if we're sitting up paying you big bucks to do a particular job and you're not getting the job done, hey man, look, we need to find somebody else that's going to take that load off these guys and make it easier, right? We're not trying to wear down Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, by saying, hey, let's keep trying to drag on with guys that may be holding us back or not doing so well, not performing like they should. Nobody's going to do that. No team's going to do that. And like I said before in my tweet, this is not a popularity contest. I like MVS. I think MVS is a cool guy, okay? And I think he's guys like in the locker room. But it's all about field base. What are you performing? What are you doing? Right? So that's the way it works. Now, if your job, like, okay, let's say for me, where I was more, regulated to like block in and all those different things, got a few balls here and there. But definitely my worth was, if you need somebody to block defensive end and linebackers and stuff like that, I was like that extra lineman who could catch footballs, could do all those different things. I had versatility. And so, yeah, I'm looking like, shoot, what am I bringing to the table? That's like, I think that's what it is. So you got to ask that question. The team is asking you, is he worth the money? You cannot tell me $12 million was worth what he caught. How many catches?
Gosh, was like 35. 21?
It can't be right.
Oh man, no, you might be right. To be quite honest with you,
Daggone.
I think he almost had more catches in the playoffs than he had in the regular season.
Yeah, the 42 the year before. Yeah, it just I don't seem $12 million, man. I don't even know if it seems half of that. You get a guy, man, to come in, shoot, you want him to do at least that for half the money, quarter of it. $12 million, $3 million? Shoot, you ought to catch 20-some balls. It's good money.
I will say this, based on what we saw this year with Hardman, I hope to God this doesn't happen next year where we need to make a trade at the deadline to bring in someone to give some juice to the receiver room. I hope that doesn't happen next year. But what we saw with the Hardman situation, and we're seeing more with him talking about the Jets, but you can never rule out the fact that we may make a trade during the midseason if he's signs a 1-year, $4 million deal somewhere. We make a trade midseason and bring MVS back. I mean, you can't rule that out anymore. We saw it with the Hardman this past year. So, yes, we released him, but that doesn't rule out a potential return in the future if that does happen.
Well, yeah, that will be later on in the future. That's what happened. They're going to make sure they get the people that they need. Like we first off, let's make sure that we get everything. How we going to do it? How we diagram, put everything up. Okay. Mm-hmm. How we constructing everything. We're going to make sure that happens. How we do it. My boy Stu was talking. They're down here talking about Mike Evans. We can't afford Mike Evans. Sorry, Stu. Listen, they keep saying Mike Evans is coming to the Chiefs. We ain't got no money for Mike Evans. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need Mike Evans right now.
He wants money, man. That was their whole during the season with their negotiations. He wants big time money, and it's not that they don't want to give him that. They just don't want to give him as much as he wants, and he already has a ring. So he's not going to take a dive to come to Kansas City. He's not going to say, "Oh, I'll play on a cheap for a year." You already have a ring. At this point, continue to get money. I mean, that's what it is. He's already got the ring.
Yeah. When he said, "Lord, if I can't get paid like that, catching footballs, yeah." A little bit more to it than just that, than just catching footballs. You're putting yourself life on the line. There's risk on doing that. So, but yeah, this is all about, business moves for who we need to sign, right? Chris Jones, the L'Jarius Sneed, all those guys, the priorities. That's what we were talking about. If we have something that $12 million can go to someone else that we can get cheaper, maybe produce a little bit more, right? You want to be able to stretch your dollar. That's what you want to be able to do. It's just a business decision. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, man, hats off to MVS, man. Seriously, man. I enjoyed every bit that he was out here through it. I'm glad he worked through all the problems that he was going through. And that showed me a lot of character for him through the adversity, just working through it and not giving up. Yeah. So I think that needs to be talked about as well. So I do like that, man. So hats off.
And good for the organization to, everyone saw this coming, right? We all saw this coming. And everyone, good for the organization to do this right now so that he can begin the process of looking to find his next team, right? As opposed to waiting it out a few weeks, it was all inevitable. We knew this was going to come, but hats off to the organization for getting it done now. And kind of we're going. It seems like we're going to right away to go to bat to get some of these guys, bring them in. And this MVS thing was a step towards doing some other things. But before we do get to some of the other things, JD, to sticking with the receivers, you got into a conversation on Twitter. You had a question that was asked to you, and I want to get into that a little bit, regarding about receivers. So you got a question online yesterday from our guy Chris Burnett. So he said, question for Jason Dunn of Chief Concerns. Is the Chiefs wide receiver room really bad, or can Rice, Tony, and James be enough? I'm still not against Kadarius Toney. I thought they brought him back way too soon after his offseason surgery and literally with no training camp. KT never got totally in synchronology with the rest of the team in a down year for the offense. Had he not been called for lining off sides against the Bills and the winning TD countered his half dozen mistakes, wouldn't have been much easier for many to forgive. You had a whole thing about that. You responded back to that on Twitter yesterday, and a lot of people have been kind of chiming in on that thread there. So JD, walk you through that tweet.
So basically, you got what I did. I had a long response to it, and I was saying that the problem with the wide receiver room is that we didn't really have anybody wide receiver room that put fear in any of the secondaries that we went against. It didn't. So we were expecting MVS, KT, and those guys to be the number one, number two receiver. Okay, that's what we paid them for. That's why we brought KT in. And these guys have skill, ball skills. We understand that. Well, they just didn't produce this past year. And how it goes in the NFL is this is a what have you done for me lately league too. So it ain't just production league. It's what have you done for me lately. And look, and teams can move on. Look, the NFL has never had a problem getting guys in to play. Never. They can go get wide receivers or tight ends or whoever they need to go get. So they don't have to stick with these guys. To them, if a guy's had a history of injuries and maybe drops and whatnot, guess what? There's hundreds of other guys out here who wants that job, who have that passion to get those things right. Now, they might not necessarily have the skill set, but some do. Some do, and some pass them up because you're taking a chance on this guy. So to me, that room has to shake up a little bit. And look, I like KT. I like KT. I like James. I like those guys, right? But we knew that it was a challenge all year because guys were getting hurt. I was a big supporter of bringing McCole Hardman in. I said McCole's going to come here and get a spark for us guys, right? I said that, Marcus, didn't I? I was like, look, McCole Hardman is the answer, I thought, to bring a spark to this wide receiver core that was struggling at the time, as beyond Rashee Rice, who was balling out of control, which nobody expected a first-round pick to do, especially when you have experienced guys that's already sitting in the room, like MVS and KT. They've already played the NFL. They know what it's all about. They know what it takes. So a rookie coming in, Rashee Rice, should be coming filling in as a support role. But he comes in, he blows it out the water. Great for him, right? He gives the validity to that room. Now, if we're sitting over here, we're trying to wait for guys to get better and whatnot, then time's ticking. It is. Time is ticking. We don't have time to wait. But Cole came in. He ended up getting hurt. Set him back for a few. So all these guys was getting hurt, which isn't their fault. It happens in the NFL. These things do happen. But the Chiefs said to themselves, like, well, shoot, we got to get somebody who's durable, somebody who's consistent, somebody that we can definitely rely on. Right? We got to have that confidence in these guys going to be able to get these things right. It's the same thing with Justin Ross. Justin Ross was somebody the Chiefs took a chance on. Okay. I hated that he ended up getting into that whole situation last year because as much people don't want to say this, I'm going to say it. That puts a mark upon him. It's a business. And I'm telling you, the NFL don't have time to hold guys' hands. The only reason some guys get more opportunities and chances is because they have draft picks, okay? They got money invested into you. If they don't have a whole lot of money invested into you, they don't have to wait. Like I said, there's plenty of guys out here that can play, they could go get. So sometimes a project and those things that they have to work on, they might not have the patience for that. They just might not have it. But I do like KT. My thing is this. I think it's where we have to go. Without a doubt, we need to go get us a wide receiver that is capable, durable, consistent, and is going to catch 70, 80-plus balls a year. This is what I said. We need to get a guy like that we know for a fact is going to get that many balls a year, okay? Who's going to put fear in DBs. And I even said this, like, when a DB is going into the game, he's going to be looking up at the ceiling, not getting the wink of sleep, knowing he's got to go against that receiver tomorrow. That's what you need. You need somebody that's going to put fear in guys' hearts and DBs. Keep a defensive coordinator up at night, pointing to him on the board saying, this guy right here is a dog. We need to do everything we need to do to stop him. We cannot let him get going. We have it in Travis Kelce, but he's a tight end. We're talking about on the outside. It's got to be more than just Travis Kelce right now. It has to be. Everybody wanted to say Travis Kelce slowing down and Taylor Swift on it. Well, shoot. If you put it on him where nobody's on the outside is getting any type of work like they should be, it is going to be harder on him. Then you do get the double teams, the triple teams on Travis Kelce like you see. They do beat him up a little bit more, and he starts feeling it. That's not fair to him. So we got to do everything in our power to get a receiver that we know is going to go in and catch 70, 80 balls a year, okay? Still got speed, run great routes. High point the football, can do everything. Run every route that's on the route tree, okay? And then some, right? And then we got to go to get a guy in the draft. We need to go get a young receiver in the draft to complement Rashee Rice and that other receiver that we get, okay? The 70, 80 ball guy, okay? And I'm talking about an exciting guy. I'm talking about a no-miss guy. I'm not talking about a project that we thinking for the fifth round. I'm talking about a guy that you know is going to come in. He's going to give you something right off the bat. It's got to be that, okay? Now, after that happens, after that, the blueprint, hey, where Kadarius Toney fits, or James, or Watson, or Ross, or whoever he is, Sky, hey, let them get in where they fit in. Now there's competition, okay? If you can beat those guys out, then you deserve to be on the team, okay? Mm-hmm. That's the way it works. Because sometimes it's like, hey, man, we just can't keep giving you this grace to say you're going to be this guy up here and this. No, you got to earn your spot. That's how it works in the NFL, okay? NFL, like they say, is not for long. These things don't happen all the time. Guys don't get chances like that. That's just the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the business. That's how these things get down. We just got to understand that, man. So that was what I was saying. That's what I was talking about. But I do believe that's the direction we have to go. We have to make it easier on Patrick Mahomes. We have to make it easier on Travis Kelce. We have to make it easier on the offense. And so what happens is you get guys in here who already know how to play, and they got the production. They got the cachet behind them. They know what it means to be championship winners. So that's what I think.
Yeah, that's been our kind of our mantra since probably the Patriots game when Mahomes was pissed off after Kadarius, tipped the ball up in the air, and he was just you could just tell he was kind of maxed out as being pissed off on but no, our mantra, the whole thing was we were going to go into this offseason overcorrecting the wide receiver room. We were going to do what we did with the offensive line after the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, and that's what we're going to do. I mean, like you said, we're going to go get a veteran receiver, a guy like a Tyler Lockett if he's cut in Seattle, which they're saying he's going to be cut. So a guy like that. And then you also go to the draft. It's a very deep receiver draft. So maybe we can allot a second or third round pick, and even maybe a late first to a receiver. And one guy I'm looking at, JD, we obviously will get into our college stuff as we get along here. And for those of you who are new to the show, we get into kind of a mock draft, kind of looking at the guys in the draft as we get closer to the draft. But Brendan Rice is a guy that I'm very interested in from USC, Jerry Rice's son. Also sweet to have two Rices on the squad too. But like the fact that Rice, I mean, he's a deep ball guy, 6'2". He's got a good frame. I think he'd be a phenomenal guy. And they say they have him right now. Obviously, we'll see what happens in the draft or in the combine. But they have him right now as a late second, early third type kind of guy. So that is a second, third round kind of guy. That could be someone that we can maybe look at. There's plenty of guys in this draft, but I would love Brandon Rice on the squad. And you pair him with a veteran guy like a Tyler Lockett type of guy. I'm not saying him per se, but a guy like that. You bring him in, and that's a room of, okay, top 3 round receiver, a veteran guy, Rashee Rice, and you have guys like Nico Remigio. You got guys like Justin Ross, Sky Moore, Toney, Justin Watson. I mean, it's a pretty solid room. I mean, you're just adding 2 guys to that room, and like you said, you make the rest compete. And I think Remigio, who shined during the preseason last year, got hurt with the shoulder injury. But he's a guy that I think is going to take over the Richie James role, the punt return and the kick return, being that guy. And he was one of the best punt returners coming out of the draft last year, based on his yards, average yards per return in his punt returns. So that's a guy who I think is cheap. It would cover the Richie James and not having to bring back another guy. And again, cutting costs somewhere, to help out elsewhere.
hey man, you get what you pay for sometimes, right? The question is you durable enough to make 17 games? That's a question, right? I mean, he got hurt. I mean, it goes into all the decisions.
It's true,
right? It goes into all the decisions. Hey, man, he looked great in preseason. Sure, bravo. I know tons of guys that look great in preseason. This is what I was talking about. People couldn't really understand, like when I know everybody made all the hoopla about Justin Ross catching the football, breadbasket, and whatnot.
damn right, baby.
Yeah, right. Everybody went crazy. And I was like, man, that was a good catch. You know what? When you play in the NFL, okay, and like I have over the years, and you talk to guys that's been in the NFL for a number of years, you see guys make catches like that. That's what you're supposed to do. That you in here with the big dogs now. This is the big boys now. Like guys catch balls with one hand, right? Somebody said, well, how come nobody showed it in the game? Well, shoot, you don't know what's going on in practice. Shoot, it's probably the guys doing it every day. Got to work on one-hand catches. I can't just take one catch and be like, oh, my gosh, he's got to be the guy. You know what? I can go find hundreds of guys catching like that. I'm telling you. Look, you don't believe me? You can ask any of my boys that play wide receiver, tight ends. You got to ask anybody that. DBs will tell you they catch balls like that, one-handed. This is the elite of the elite. That people don't understand. I get like, hey, maybe you only see things and maybe they don't do it in games. I get that, right? In games, like, hey, man, you can catch with two hands, secure it, do it better, right? He went out there, you know, in you don't have that much pressure in practice. You know, you can do the one hand and do all those things. Perfect. Travis Kelce throwing the ball over, you know, catching and throwing, you know, making a creative throw to Kadarius Toney. Mind blowing. That don't happen. You don't get to do things like that in the game. But this is elite. This is how guys, when you start getting to that IQ and doing things, this is how things happen. So Justin Rowe, is a very talented receiver. He's a very talented receiver. If we retain him and hold on to him, I want him to have a shot. I want him to have a chance. Is he well? Medically, is he fine? That's what they're looking and making sure, hey, man, we got to make sure you're going to be okay through the entire season, right? You had the hiccup. We got to make sure you're okay during the entire season. And if they're not, they're going to find other guys.
You mean well as in like, you know, in his head, like, you know, he's like medically in that respect, right?
Medically, physically. I'm talking about physically, is he well? Like, you know, because he had the whole degenerative disc, like all those different things. Like, you still have to
but we cleared him, but that also he wasn't getting that many reps, and that's where it comes in. Like, are they comfortable?
Hey, we cleared him. Other teams may not.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing about it, right? You could be the big dog eating at Clemson, and guess what? You may be Swiss cheese somewhere else. Hey, man, this is how it works. When you go to the NFL, I'm talking about this, the elite of the elite. And sometimes it's guys that don't get those shots who show you how good they are, right?
Yeah.
When you go to, let's say, like I'll give you a name that I kept talking about last year that we should have got in the draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dobbs up there at Green Bay. Dobbs played at Nevada, right? Who's going to be watching Nevada play? Okay? You watch his guy's tape, you can see how good he is. You know what I mean? So he had to go to Clemson. He went to Nevada, but this sucker can still ball. He's balling. So I think when you go into these decisions, especially business-wise, there's a lot of people that come into their room and got to stand on the table for you, man. I'm telling you, somebody's got to stand on the table for you, right? Somebody's got to get up there and say, hey, look, Justin Ross is the guy that could get it done, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's got to listen to that. Everybody's got to feel that. And everybody's got to buy into that, okay? So I know Kadarius Toney, you know, he's rubbed guys wrong way. And I don't even know, like, this whole deal with what this conversation came out, what he said. I don't know anything about it. I don't know. Nobody knows the truth of that, right? But
he's tried to deny it and say it's more like, you know, someone took pieces of a conversation, but many other people have come out and said that it's legitimate. It's a legitimate thing. And, you know, I think Michael Robinson asked him a question about it. He kind of like laughed about it at the Super Bowl. So like, yeah. And a healthy scratch at the Super Bowl too, man. And that's just like the whole thing's so murky and weird. I mean, obviously we don't know the behind the scenes stuff to it, but like,
they don't know.
it's definitely uncomfortable. Like we can at least agree on that. It's been an uncomfortable thing.
It's been an uncomfortable thing, man.
Yeah.
So Brendan Rice. So I'll ask you, Brendan Rice, is he ready to come play right now? If day one, is he ready to come out there and run routes and catch footballs for us day one?
Oh yeah, kid's a stud.
I've only seen highlights of it, right?
Mhm.
And obviously he come from good stock with his dad. You know, he come from a great family. I mean, Jerry's gonna be all over him. So I know he has that pressure. Like, look, I'm gonna do well. I'm gonna get well. And I think he's a good kid. He'd be great on the team. But we do need to have that guy. I'm telling you, day one coming in, no question. Day one ready to play. Same thing. The guy we bring in, 780 balls. Day one ready. Okay?
And talk about this. I'm seeing too much from our fan base saying, "Oh, we don't need to go get a veteran. Just going to draft guys." Because I think people forget and lose sight of the veteran presence in the locker room. Now that MVS is gone, with the elder statesman in that room is Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore currently. Come on, I mean, like that's ridiculous. And obviously, most people who understand no ball know that you need a veteran in the room, especially a guy who's going to take the weight off Rashee Rice, who can maybe help him be more of a professional in the league, and also taking the weight off his shoulders and Kelsey's shoulders, as you mentioned. But talk about the veteran presence of it, because I think people think, oh, we're just going to draft a receiver in the first round and then maybe draft one in the fourth round. We'll be set at receiver. No, we're not going to be set at receiver. No, we're not.
Listen, you had to have somebody who's had experience how to deal with things, deal with adversity, who's been on a team before, to tell guys how to be professional, how to move around these circles, how to carry yourself on the field and off the field, in the media, somebody who's been there before, a wily vet that could come in and help coach these guys up. Because sometimes players can speak other players' languages to help them understand certain things. Like, hey, man, think about it like this, right? If I'm running this route, thinking of maybe they was in a whole different system. Thinking of this route like this, like that system, what it did. Now you can think about it a little bit better. And so having experience, man, it's hard to pay for something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's invaluable. It's imperative to have a guy who knows what he's doing, to teach these guys, to get them right, get them straight. And to be honest with you, I think it was part of the problem last year is you had such a young team, okay, or young group, and you had a young wide receiver coach coming in who already knows how to coach. I mean, his dad, has been coaching, who's trying to get them on the same page about what they need to do. But maybe they didn't want to listen to that early on, right? Maybe they feel like, oh, well, he's a new guy coming in, and the guys wanted to do their thing, okay? This is speculation, all right? I'm just saying. But it seems like when you started hearing guys toward the end of what week was it, 9 or 10, when Justin Watson saying, "Hey, we started to come in early."
It was after the Packers game, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey man, a vet, you would have had him coming in early at week 1, week 2. Like, hey man, we gotta get this together. It's on us and nobody else. And everybody's got to understand that. That's what a vet would do. He would make sure guys are doing that. He would hold them accountable. Not saying guys weren't doing it in the room, but it did seem like everything was just kind of, laissez-faire a little bit. You know what I mean? Kind of lackadaisical, and it was just when you hear guys in the media, maybe how they responded didn't bode well for them, right? It was like, oh man, you understand what's going on? Like, you just can't just, hey, I get drops happen, right? And you're supposed to move on to the next play.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a sense of responsibility there, right? That you should have, an accountability, that you put it on yourself. Like, we're going to get this done, put more work and effort into. That's what people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear what guys were doing to get better. Not just say, we're going to work on things in practice. Well, what do you mean work on things in practice? What does that entail? What does that mean when I'm sitting there telling it? A veteran will let you know exactly what that is, okay? He will tell you how many reps he needs to take. What little I can't even think of it now.
Intricacies,
field groups, or whatever things you're doing, to get better. Yeah. That's what a vet is going to do, and he knows how to handle the media because he's been there before. He can come in, he can deflect a little bit, right? But he knows how to handle himself and how to talk to reporters. All of that is important, man. All of that important to having a vet, man. Seriously, you got to have a guy like that.
Yeah. So when if Seattle parts ways with Tyler Lockett, come home, baby. Come home.
Oh, and Tyler's a good man. He's a good man of character. He teach those young guys a whole lot.
For sure.
A whole lot.
And get him a ring too.
Yeah. Great family, you know.
So our other big news, so obviously MVS sort of the day, and then shortly after the MVS release, Chiefs informed L'Jarius Sneed that they are prepared to use the franchise tag and are open to consummating a trade if no long-term deal is reached. Sneed is agreeable to the scenario, which gives him a chance to talk with other teams while the Chiefs remain in play for his services for the 2024 season. Pending league approval, a new contract for Sneed, a free agent, could be worked out as part of a trade to kick in at the start of the new league year. The source to Jeremy Fowler stressed that a trade is very much on the table. The Chiefs are expected to use the non-exclusive franchise tag, which could cost about $19 million for the 2024 season. JD, what do you think of this move and the potential of a tag and trade situation?
It's business. I think that this is something that they're doing their due diligence that they have to do. You know, like you said, if these guys can't come to an agreement, they're like, look, when free agency opens up, you can go and check and see what guys are getting for you and what you're looking at, and you can entertain those things. You really can. We still have the ability to tag you at this moment. And so if they talked about tagging and trading and whatnot, what can they get for L'Jarius Sneed? Right? If you're sitting there and you're saying this, there's a lot of possibility, a lot of options here. And the reason they have that ability, they have that wiggle, is because of the play from Jalen Watson last year, right? And when you have backups who can do maybe not as much as Sneed, okay, because Sneed's versatility is what makes him incredibly valuable, right? But almost what he can do, right? Long, lanky corner, okay, long arms, did a great job filling in role. His reserve role, man, he did a good job. So you got, Jalen Watson could come in and they like, look, we could play with this with Sneed, right? But we know he's going to be sought after. That's the thing about it. Sneed is going to be probably one of the top free agency when it hits. Team's going to be wanting him. There's tons of teams that need DBs right now. Secondary sucks in the NFL. You tell was getting burnt everywhere. You could go from team to team who was getting done in. Philly needs somebody, Philly definitely needs corners. So, I mean, I can go, tons of teams that need corners right now. So he's going to be the most coveted guy, as far as the secondary wise, this offseason. And rightfully so. But I think the Chiefs in themselves saying, hey, look, if we're trying to sign Chris Jones and we're trying to work these things out, right? These are the two priorities for us to get done. Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed. How can we make this thing work? What can we do to try to keep both of them? And if we lose one, who's the guy that we can lose, right? And try to get something for. And that guy will be L'Jarius Sneed. Okay? It's just that's reality. But Sneed, man, he's pivotal in the things that we do. It's pivotal in the things we do. Chris Jones is more dangerous, is more of a value to us because we don't have anybody on the team that can do anything he can do.
No.
We don't.
No.
There's not too many guys in the NFL can do what Chris Jones can do.
No.
Let's just be honest here. And so L'Jarius Sneed, he's able to do what he's able to do because of Chris Jones, okay, in the pass rush and whatnot and so forth, right? Not taking away from any of his skill. Don't get me wrong with me saying that. It doesn't take away from his skill because L'Jarius Sneed can cover dudes all over the field and do it well. He's gotten significantly better from where he started to where he is now as the most coveted DB out there right now to be in free agency. But Chris Jones is a guy that is hard to replace. It's hard to replace. You're not going to find too many guys out there like Chris Jones. I'm saying it again. Chris Jones is one of those rare talents. You're just not gonna find everywhere.
Yeah.
Is so
and I think with L'Jarius Sneed, and you kind of touched on it, but the fact that Veach has done, and I see G-Pick has kind of commented on that, we draft solid DBs year in and year out. We've hit on a lot of these late round DBs, and obviously McDuffie is his own. I mean, you didn't even mention McDuffie, but McDuffie, first round pick. I mean, he's phenomenal. He stepped up in the Super Bowl too, all year long. He did, but you got McDuffie, you got Watson, you got Josh Williams, you got Shamari Connor, who looked fantastic last year. And also, I remember after we drafted him last year, if you looked at his measurables, like his body, his height, his weight, his length, his reach, his wingspan, it was identical to L'Jarius Sneed. I'm not saying he's L'Jarius Sneed, but we obviously, when we were looking at him, he was a prototype. It was like, oh, okay, he's got a lot of Sneed in him. And this year we saw, I mean, he's awesome. Open field tackler. He was laying the wood, especially down the stretch too. And then you also have guys like Najee Johnson, who got hurt towards ACL during training camp last year. But when he got hurt, he was running with the ones on defense, and he was playing a little bit of nickel, playing a little slot corner. He's playing a little bit of everything, and that's a guy we'll be getting back this year. And you talk about just our ability to draft these DBs late in the draft. It makes Sneed kind of more of a luxury to have, not so much a necessity at that point, having hit on all these other DBs. And we talk about DT. I mean, yeah, you can't find, there's not many D linemen like Chris Jones. And you and I, we've talked about this for years. We've never been able to find a guy to even play, forget about replacing him. We can't even find a guy to play next to him. So and also we're in one offseason, we're going to get rid of him. Then we're going to have to find 2 DTs. And we couldn't even find another guy to pair with him. So yeah, I think yes, it's gonna suck to not have Sneed, but $19 million. So if we tag and trade him, we're gonna get that $19 million back. And we're talking $19 million of the tag action, and we're talking about $12 million from the MVS. That right there is $31 million that we can have to pay Chris Jones and then continue to find other spots on the team at that point. So yeah, I think it's smart business. If we are going to get some draft picks out of it, and also maybe get another DB, why not?
So I've said, look, Trent McDuffie, he's got that locked down over there. We don't have to worry about that side over there at all. Done with. Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, we know can come in and reserve whatever. They can be starting corners in the NFL. They have an ability. We understand that. I just, like you said, we there's nobody that we have to play right beside Chris Jones. We've been trying to find that guy to play right beside Chris Jones to compliment him. Really. Flatback City said, we ain't paying anywhere. We draft, buy Chris Jones, buy Steve. We ain't drafted somebody to play like Chris Jones. Sorry, Flapjack. Disagree with you. Just we not. They can move on from Chris Jones. I'm not saying it's not impossible, right? You know, because somebody's like, oh, we moved on from Tyreek Hill. Yeah, but Chris Jones is the epitome of like what Patrick Mahomes is on defense. That's what we could move on from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. We might be able to do without one. So I think Tyreek Hill and L'Jarius Sneed might be more like, you know, comparable to each other as
Very
opposed
similar.
to that. Chris Jones, hey man, you could try to go find him. You could try to go find him, okay? And you're gonna be looking to high heaven everywhere, under rocks, around tree, everywhere to find a guy like what Chris Jones can do.
And let's not forget, I know it's taken us back a year, but go back to the AFC Championship game last year against the Bengals. Sneed got hurt in the first drive of that game. We won that game with the play of Jalen Watson, with the play of Josh Williams, with the play of Brian Cook, with a lot. And those guys are rookies back then. It's a year under their belt. They look even better this year. And then, yeah, they're going to have to play even more of a pivotal role without L'Jarius Sneed if we do end up trading him. But, like, I mean, we've shown that we can do well with the young guys we have at DBs and paying very little to those guys too. So, I mean, it's a formula they've found.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, you get a skilled guy who could run, who could cover. Those things like that is I mean, that's what you want to be able to do. Veach has had a very good outcome with that, right? He has very good luck finding those guys. We'll find somebody else too. We'll find maybe somewhere a 3rd or 4th, 5th round pick to get a guy in here. You could probably do that, right?
Yeah.
Who's hungry. A lot of it goes into the coaching and whatnot. Now, I heard that, man, DB coach Merrick might be going somewhere.
Really?
I think I see that. Man, I don't know. Somebody, man,
Merritt?
thinks, yeah. I don't know.
Oh,
I think I
interesting.
ran
Yeah.
across ticketed. Somebody said that. Uh,
Huh.
that would.
Wow, yeah. As of 5 hours ago, apparently he's emerging as one of the top candidates to be the new DC in San Francisco. That's a pretty big step up from DB coach to DC.
It's a big step up. It's gonna be hard to pass something like that up, man.
And based on this conversation we're having right now, based on this conversation alone, that is worthy of potentially being a defensive coordinator. I mean, this guy took late round picks of DBs and made these guys top in the league as far as the secondary. I mean, like, yeah, we didn't get a lot of takeaways, but these guys shut down the best of the best. We talked about it all year long as a reason why we were a top team in the league. So,
yeah, well, don't go out there San Fran and lose a lead or something. You get fired. It can't.
I know. Yeah, he's the fourth known candidate interviewing for the 49ers DC job. So obviously, I wished him the best because that's a life-changing move to go from DB coach to a defensive coordinator for one of the best teams in the league. But selfishly, I hope I'd love for him to stay in Kansas City. But obviously, if he gets a DC job, I'll take that and run with it. So.
Yeah.
So JD, so obviously we're gonna take this conversation from L'Jarius Sneed. We're already talking about Chris Jones anyways, but I wanted to get your thoughts on what Brett Veach said yesterday at the Combine in regards to Chris Jones, because it sounds like he is number one priority right now for our squad. So let's hear what Brett Veach has to say on it.
We're gonna, just like last year, with Chris and with LJ, with a lot of our players, we get a chance to meet the agents this week, and he's at the top of the list. Love Chris and tried really hard to get something done, and we didn't. But when we got together right after that Detroit game, we had a great talk, and both parties I think want to be here, so we'll get to work. And that's certainly a guy we want back and love, and want to see him finish and end his career here in Kansas City.
So JD, what do you make of what Brett Veach has to say? Are you feel like based on the L'Jarius Sneed stuff that we just talked about, and based on his comments right there, is this promising? And do you feel optimistic about the two sides coming to an agreement here and Chris Jones staying in Kansas City?
Hey man, those are words right now. I mean, I think they want to get something done, but it's got to work for both parties. I think it's still at where it was last year. Now, they might bump it up from where it was, obviously, because the money's going up. Chris has earned that point. I think he's warranted that type of money. The production shows that. You just imagine if you got some help, some guys. Come on, man. He'll tear guys apart. The versatility from defensive tackle to defensive end. So versatile. Things he can do. He's a menace. He's power on to himself. So I think Veach and them have to get something like this done. Now, where they'll be with this, that's where it becomes behind closed door. That's the talk. I think Chris is going to try to get to 30. He's going to like, look, man, I did the team-friendly deal. I got all my incentives like I could last year. Okay? Y'all strung me along. We're not trying to do this thing. We're not trying to let this thing draw out. I think Chris is going to put the pressure on him like, look, man, free agency, we're not going to do it. Let's just go from it. Okay? We had enough time to get this thing done. It didn't happen. So I think that's where they're going to be, man. I think they're both serious about getting it done, man. It's just get to the point where you need it right there. Get there. Both of y'all get there. Shoot, we want Chris to be here. We want him to retire as a Chief. We do. I know Britton Beach didn't want that too. Chris Jones make everybody on defense's job easier. Chris Jones makes everybody's job on defense easier. Defensive ends, linebackers, corners, safeties, spags. He makes everybody's job easier. Chris Jones, 95. Okay? That's what he does. So I had to speak into the microphone. I hope that wasn't too loud.
That's a good point as far as, like, let's say if they are going, and what it sounds like, they are going the route to choosing Chris Jones over L'Jarius Sneed. Their thought process is if we have a guy like Chris Jones, it's going to make whoever's in our back end look that much better. Not to say that L'Jarius Sneed or Charvarius Ward weren't good, but it makes guys who maybe that much better with having a Chris Jones back there. And I'm saying L'Jarius Sneed and Ward are already good guys, great at what they do. But I'm saying it makes the guys who maybe, middle of the road kind of DB, but you have Chris Jones in there, that makes them that much better. And so that's what we're saying. Hey, we can pay the guys in the back end, rookie type deals. And as long as we have Chris Jones, it's going to make anyone look that much better. So I think that's what it sounds like, right?
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So Stewart says, good question. You put Chris Jones up there with the likes of Reggie White. Chris Jones is a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. He is in the conversation as being one of the best defensive tackles, I think, of all time. He's in that conversation. He's in that echelon of Hall of Famers. Reggie White was a guy up on himself. Chris Jones is playing at that level how Reggie White was playing in his heyday. Okay, let's get that situated, Stu, my brother. Love you. Hey, yes, but we know Reggie White is head and shoulders above everybody else. Chris Jones is right there, running up on Reggie White's on his toes. Okay, that's our nostalgia, right? I know that. Reggie White invoked fear in guys' hearts. I know Chris Jones is doing the same thing to these guys out there. I cannot get beat by him right now. And he embarrasses guys because he just makes it look too easy. It's too easy. So,
yeah.
What do y'all think? Well, hold on. Let me ask the chat out here, okay? Chat, do y'all put CJ up there with the likes of Reggie White? And I said he's right there in the conversation. Is he with it? What do y'all think? Okay.
Well, Steve Archetti was even around during the Reggie White days. I barely remember Reggie White, JD. That was.
Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah, I get it.
As far as like watching like old highlights and stuff, yes, I older brother, so I know Reggie White is because of that. But as far as watching him every Sunday, that wasn't. No, I mean, CJ up there with Reggie White, Bruce Smith, etc. Ooh.
CJ up there with White, Bruce Smith. Yeah, right there. What's up, Cal? Henny? Cal, my brother, what's going on, man? So when White was a beast, no doubt a beast. If you go back and you watch the film, I mean, I just see how you used to just do tackles, man. He playing with him. He was a man amongst boys out there. Reggie was a monster. I hear you, Omar. Reggie was a monster. It's hard, man. That's when you start talking to Reggie White, man. Reggie, there's certain guys that have their own stratosphere, right?
Yeah.
Reggie White, you had to say also too, Lawrence Taylor. These guys set the bar for these positions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They have some similar tendencies for sure. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Look, I played against Reggie White and I caught him toward the tail end. And I know all week I was like, oh my gosh, I got this dude. My rookie year had Reggie. Yes, Reggie, John Randall, Aaron Donald, guys that could disrupt the game on the inside outside, without a doubt. Yes.
Didn't you have a funny story with John Randall? Didn't you and him have a funny thing?
Oh,
yeah. Tell me some story about that.
He sure did. So that, real quick. So we're playing Minnesota Vikings right there, and John Randall's got the whole, face paint on and whatnot. So I don't know who it was. Maybe Chris Dolman is who I was blocking at the time. And, we get into a big pile up. Well, somebody's over the pile, and I just come and I clean the dude, bend him over the pile, yeah. And all of a sudden, bam, from out nowhere, somebody hits me in my back. Oh, and I turn around. It's John Randall. Yeah, I see you, Dunn. I see you. You think I didn't see you, did you? I see you, Dunn. You ain't gonna get away with that. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, John Randall was crazy, great guy, but when you see him talking, it was always like that on the field, constantly smack talking all the time. Yeah, I seen you, Dunn. You thought you won't get away with it. I seen you. Man, look, I got great stories, man. There's all these guys. Reggie White would have to tell them a whole different time, man. Dude, Reggie White and Jerome Brown were unstoppable. Man, my dude, right there.
Mm-hmm.
See, people don't remember Jerome Brown, brother. That's another name. People don't remember that name.
Who's Jerome Brown? Give me a quick history lesson.
With the Philadelphia Eagles. and him and Reggie White was a tandem. Like when you had two guys like that, destroying everything, beast. And I think it's when what's his name was there? Buddy Ryan was the D coordinator, monster. But Jerome Brown, man, passed away. Yeah, I think, man, was it a car wreck? This is before I got to Philly. But I remember Jerome Brown, man. You talk about a tandem, jokers something else. Something else.
Reggie plays 15 years, had 198 sacks. Jones only has 78 in his career right now.
But Jones played defensive tackle. Reggie was more of a defensive end.
Yeah.
But no, without a doubt, Joe, look, hey, Reggie, I got you, Flapjack City. I'm with you. Look, I'm right there with you. So I'm right there. You say motorcycle wreck. That's it. Yep. That's what it was. Man. Yeah. Reggie was, man, Flapjack City, no doubt. Reggie, man, like I said, the Joker's got his own stratosphere. He's his own planet. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
LT, in my opinion, was the most impactful linebacker I've ever seen play, without a doubt. Everybody talk about LT. When you change the game, LT changed the game. The blocking scheme. That I don't think people realize that, like how good Lawrence Taylor was. Like they had to change the blocking scheme up for him. You had to compare Jones' numbers to Sapp. Man, now come on. Jones is better than Sapp. Okay.
Oh.
I like Sapp, but Jones is better than Sapp. The numbers, yes. I'm the Brown. I agree. Numbers. I just think Chris is a little bit more agile. He's more versatile than Sapp was. But Sapp had, man, he had a couple of dudes with him. He had Simeon Rice and all that.
That's true. Yeah.
Yes, around it. You know what I mean? It ain't like, he was the only one out there.
Mm-hmm.
We got some guys. Some guys are picking they game up too. Reggie White threw 10 yards into quarterback for us. Man, you can tell stories about Reggie White all day, man. People need to bring up film on Reggie White. No, not saying who's better, but when the guy said Reggie White's number, Sapp and Jones are tackle. Yeah, right. There you go. Right. You're right. Yeah. My bad, brother. Derek Brooks, yep. I mean, that defense, man, was powerful.
John Lynch was in that defense, too.
Head hunter.
Yeah.
Shoot. Yeah. Him, Reggie, and Clyde Simmons. Clyde Simmons, right, for Philly. Stewart, man, the Eagle brother right there.
Those are his boys right there.
Malibu Stew. Yes, sir. We can tell you about the Eagles. But yeah, no doubt.
JD, we're talking about this D-line stuff. We talked about it a little bit earlier about Charles Omenihu, and I kind of mentioned on Monday a little bit about Omenihu. And this is kind of a thing that it kind of shocked a lot of Chief fans because he appeared on Good Morning Football. And he was talking about getting paid. And obviously, this whole offseason, we're talking about L'Jarius Sneed, Chris Jones, but he made a weird comment about how he deserves a new contract. This is interesting from a guy who missed 6 games due to suspension, and then gets hurt, tears his ACL at the end of the season. So it's like we're talking about a new contract for that. I mean, we only played in a few games, and he's probably going to miss half the season next year. But his quote was, I think I did, to be honest. The question was about getting a new contract. He said, I think I did enough to be honest. Like you said, 7 sacks in 11 games in the sack in the championship game to kind of spark off the wave of defensive plays. Finished second on the team in sacks and didn't have the first 6 games to catch up with George and Chris. I think I did. I think the tape speaks for itself. I think I showed dominant run play and then with the pass rush inside and outside and just winning one-on-ones, creating turnovers, being the spark, and like the energy plays they wanted me to be when I got there. So obviously, Omenihu signed through 2024 with a base salary of $6.74 million and a cap number of $10.97 million. An extension would likely bring that cap hit down. JD, what are your thoughts on this? We're in offseason, we're talking about keeping Chris Jones, potentially keeping L'Jarius Sneed. To set for a guy who's probably going to miss like half a season next year, this guy's saying he wants a new contract. What do you think about that?
I like Charles Omenihu. He brought a lot to our defense this past year. And it was sad to see him get hurt before the Super Bowl, man. I wish he had played. And I know he wanted to play. This contract that he signed, I know it was like one of those things that pay out, come out here and perform, and I do. And his numbers show that he was propelling to be the top defensive end. I think his numbers probably would have definitely got it if he had played all the games, if he went to suspension, and if he didn't get hurt. So I think that he has a case for possibly getting a new contract. Chiefs don't have to give it to him. It's a business. And because of the injury, that's the bad part about it. They can argue the point like, hey, we don't know how you're going to respond with this ACL tear, right? And it's so unfortunate that it happened, because if he had remained healthy, then he has an easier case, right, to sign a longer-term deal or to get a bigger contract. But, the business part of it, the people for the Chiefs, are going to use, hey, you got hurt. What does this mean? We're going to miss you all next year. Can we sign you a long-term deal? We ain't even going to be available on the field to come play. We don't even know what game we're going to come back to play. So that it's unfortunate, but things are where they are right now, because he's still gonna have to be like, hey man, you got to bring it. We got to still perform, right? We got you under contract. You got to still perform. And so it's up to him if he feels like it. And like I said, his numbers warrant that. Sure, he was doing a good job for us last year. And look, he sees the big contracts these guys getting paid, right? He sees the Bosas and, everybody else. Crosby, he sees guys getting paid money. Hendricks, he sees these guys getting this money. And so to him, he wants a piece of that. He wants a piece of the pie. I'm not mad at him trying to get it. I'm not mad at him trying to politic to get the money, to get the contract, and come to the people like, yo, man, what do y'all think? Hey, Charles, Omenihu, you did a hell of a job, buddy. You did a hell of a job. Thank you for everything you brought here. A hell of a job. Now, when you go to that table, this is what's going to happen. They're going to use your injury against you. They're going to use you being suspended against you. They're going to use you coming back next year against you. So that's what you're looking at. But if you can make that case and you can make it convincingly, then you get a new contract. Okay? But you're playing big boy ball now. And, the Chiefs they ain't gonna sign it because they like you. Okay? They love you. But, this is business. And you perform again like this, you got every position to say, I deserve a new contract, without a doubt. The injury derailed you for what you wanted to do. That's the problem. That's the problem. And I know you know that. So that's the battle you had to fight. I wish you well, man. I hope you get everything you're looking for. I do. So, we'll see what the Chiefs are going to do with it. But
are you shocked? I mean, it's just a year after signing a 2-year deal. I mean, I feel like you sign a 2-year deal, you're kind of getting yourself into, right?
I mean, you do, but I mean, the thing is, if you play well, then you that's null and void, right? Shoot. I mean, it's like, hey, man, I need to get paid more money than what I'm getting. The 6 or 7, however much he's getting, I need to get paid more, right? Especially if my numbers show that. But we're thinking your numbers need to be somewhere. I don't know what he's asking. Has he said how much he wants? He hadn't said, has he?
No, just a new
deal. He said he wants a contract, right? Mm-hmm. So
I'll tell you what, extend him, bring that cap hit a little bit lower, but give him a three something year deal. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what happens with that. But I'd love to have him for a long term. It's just the fact that he had the suspension that's going to go against him as well. The personal conduct stuff, they're going to use that against him. So we missed the first 6 games of you last year because of that. Then you get hurt. We don't know when you're going to come back next year. So it's like it's for me. It seems like it's a weird time to be asking for a new contract when I mean, these two things have happened. So
Yeah, well, they had T.J. Watt. He was another one that got hurt, right? Well, look at him. He's getting paid. Well, shoot, I don't know. They might have to take a little money from T.J. Watt. Look,
yeah,
you always going to compare yourself to other guys out here, right? And these guys get paid. That's how it works. And so his numbers are going to look at look, man, look at my numbers compared to everybody else. And so if the Chiefs feel like that he's got a valid case, okay, they will entertain that thought. So, heck, I always thought I need to get paid more money than what I did.
Hey, it's a problem when you don't think you're worth the money, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, it's true. I'm like, hey, man, Sue, stop looking at you, try to look at your wallet like, hey, yeah, maybe it's for you. And okay, you got to play the game. That's how it works, man. Negotiation comes into it. But Charles, he has a case, man. I mean, he did well for us last year.
Yeah. And plus too, when you are playing on a 2-year deal and you do tear your ACL, that to yourself, you're like, man, I don't know how much longer I have in the league, man. I need to capitalize when I can capitalize. So yeah, man, I get it 100%. I'm not knocking him for it. I just think it's, it's interesting when a year we're only talking about Sneed and Jones, and all of a sudden you hear this rumblings from a guy who's, he just started with the squad. He's hurt. He's going to miss half the season next year, or how long he's going to miss. But I thought it was interesting that he's already asking for a new contract, or he thinks he's done enough to earn a new contract.
Well, I look at a guy tied for 17th, right? Is our own Chris Jones, 10.5 sacks. And right below him, tied another 17th, is George Kalafdis at 10.5 sacks. So he could have easily been up there. And so when you're talking about that, you got to talk about the money. Is money equal to my production? And so this is just negotiations, man. It's negotiations. So
and maybe they'll tackle that. Maybe they'll address that once they get the top two guys figured out. Then we'll play ball. Maybe give him an extension.
Yeah, for sure. So.
All right, well, JD, it's starting to storm here, and I don't want to lose power during this. It's starting to storm here badly. I hear the wind out here howling.
I got you, man. Kalafdis is a beast. We haven't even mentioned him yet. George to get his time. He is a beast, without a doubt. We're talking contract negotiations, stuff like that. George, hey man, we absolutely respect and love George.
And we get 5 year, and we get the 5-year bonus with him being a first-round pick. So we're gonna enjoy that. Yeah,
there's a lot of guys we didn't mention on defense with dogs out there. We understand that. We just talk about the guys that right now, contract worthy. We're talking about it. So. Stu, what's this? Hopefully the Chiefs don't make the same mistake with Chris Jones like the Eagles did with Reggie White to let him go to the Packers. No less was insane. Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. Love everybody coming on tonight. Seriously, having a conversation is a wonderful conversation. Talking to you all. Seriously.
It was nice. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. It was nice. That's a little change. I'm doing a 9 p.m. Live stream instead of the usual 7 o'clock. Got a little bit more of a night crowd tonight.
I like that, man. But I think what, and I know people are getting off work in Kansas City. We do it, Eastern Standard Time, and people are kind of getting in, settled down, and we're kind of on. I see people coming on a little bit. I like the nighttime.
Appreciate you. I'm the Brown. Appreciate you, brother. My signing bonus kicks in tomorrow. Here's a few thousand pennies for the great combo. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. Definitely. Yeah.
But all right, guys.
Hey, Marcus, man, be safe, man. I know, man. Stay safe out there, brother. Stay safe. Okay.
Crazy, man. The wind's been howling for the last 15 minutes. I don't know. I hope the power doesn't cut out during this.
Wendy, thank you, sweetie. Appreciate you very much. All the other TGL, 10, Grant, Casey Chasen. Thanks, my brother. Appreciate you. Malibu Stu, my brother. I'm the Brown. Duncan, Idaho. All you guys, all y'all who's sitting over in the chat. Appreciate everyone. Lana Pyramid. Blackjack City, you too, man. You came in. G-Pick. My guy. Appreciate it. Omar coming in with a little bit. So thank everybody tonight, man. Seriously. All right. Y'all be well. Y'all
everybody.
Yeah,
we'll be
y'all.
back. We'll be back Monday for our next position group that we're going to discuss and talk about. So far, pretty good, JD. We did 2 Mondays ago. We did receivers. So we've already done moves with that, which we talked about, and then we did O-line this past Monday. And then what happened the next day? Reed talks about Wanye possibly being the left tackle of the future, and Donovan Smith being a good leader for him. So we're Dunstradamus has come to town early this offseason, people. But all right, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we hope everyone enjoyed the show. We'll see you guys on Monday. Love you, everybody.
Martin Moore, 411 work class of 90. No doubt. No doubt. All right, y'all. Y'all be good. Peace out. All right.
See you, everybody.
See y'all later.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.